Good morning, everybody. Are we ready? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Good. It's 8 a.m. and I want to be very mindful of time because I know we have a hard stop at 8:55. So I just want to say good morning. My name is Monica Sellas. I'm Director for Development here at the Reiter School of Management, and I will be your host at this virtual event. I have to say that this is our first ever breakfast series, which is virtual, so we're very excited. And this Ready Breakfast series is made possible by the support of Union Bank. So we're very thankful for their partnership. I'm not sure if I should give a couple of minutes. I think we have a full room. I think I will proceed. Well, as we always do, yes. So as we always do on breakfast series, we will do the same procedure. We will have our speaker presentation first. It will be followed up by questions. As you can notice, all the attendees will be muted for an environment of noise-free event. If you want to ask questions, those will be possible to be asked at the end. Remember that we have a very hard stop at 8:55, but you can send your questions throughout the event through the question and answer box that is next to the chat icon in your Zoom, and we will read them at the end. I think our dean is ready as well. So to kick things off, I have the pleasure of introducing you to the Reiter School of Management Dean, Lisa Ordóñez, who is joining us today. So I guess, Lisa, the floor is yours.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Lisa. Thank you.
And I don't know if you can see me. I don't have any control here, so, but you know, it's early in the morning, so it's just as well. Okay, I had my things here. Hang on. Well, welcome to our first virtual Reiter Executive Breakfast Series. We're so happy to be here, and you know, well, I can't see you. I'm just glad that you're here with us. So one of our hallmarks of this program is that it not only highlights our community's greatest leaders and senior executives to present on specific industry related topics, but it also encourages and emphasizes the networking opportunities and connections among our students, alumni, faculty, staff, and Reiter friends, as you see from our morning attendees. So it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Hector Lujan. I actually have met his brother, Bosco, who serves on my advisory board. So it's great to have yet another member of the Lujan family here helping us out today. Hector Lujan is the CEO of privately held Reiter affiliated companies and an exclusive grower of Driscoll berries, and by the way, our absolute favorite berries, and we have some right now, strawberries, so thank you for doing that. Hector has collaborated with local growers worldwide and played an important role in RAC's expansion in the US into Mexico, Canada, Portugal, Spain, Morocco, and now China. A key player in the food supply chain and important prominent proponent of the Farm Modernization Act, Hector has successfully led RAC during this pandemic with an international mutually beneficial focus. He was born in Tijuana, Mexico, and holds a degree in business administration from Tecnologico de Monterrey. He began his journey working at Bionova Fresh, a subsidiary of Grupo Pulsar, as the operations manager in their farming and marketing companies, and later overseeing BerryMex, an affiliate of RAC. He came through the ranks and became Reiter's CEO in 2017 after serving as the COO. He was a founding member of the Mexican Berry Exporters Association, serving 2 years as their vice president. Hector was recently named one of the 100 most influential Mexican leaders worldwide by the Mexican magazine Lideres Mexicanos in the past, and has been listed as 40 under 40 by Expansión magazine in Mexico. Currently, Hector serves as a board member for the United Fresh Produce Association Grower Shipper Committee, the RAC companies, the National Processed Raspberry Council, and the State of Baja California Red Cross, as well as Crane County Day School in Santa Barbara. Hector lives with his wife Beatriz and their 4 children in Santa Barbara, California, and I couldn't be prouder to welcome Hector this morning. Thank you. And this picture that we're showing is making me hungry for some berries. So thank you, Hector.
Thank you, Lisa, for the introduction. And I'd also like to thank Bosco for introducing me to the Reiter School, to Monique also for putting this together with my assistant, Monica Govea, to being here today. And also to Amy Nguyen, who leads or has supported us inside of the Reiter School with business case analysis on the expansion of our organic input program beyond our utilization and externalization now to outside parties. And the team that was there, Ellie Sherman, Nancy Turowski, Sylvia Liang, and Sanahan Vija Akumar. They did a wonderful job and had to navigate with the complexities of COVID-19 when we had back in February mapped out a logistic program and dates and times to kind of get all this done. It's impressive what they were able to do to get that. The study and the presentation was wonderful about a week ago. Also, Johnny Paris from our organization that worked with them in supporting the development of that study. So thank you. And great to see my introduction to the Reiter School through Bosco and through this experience has been wonderful. So I would have loved to be there personally and look to do that, but the situation, I guess, puts us where we're at today. And hopefully we'll be, but there's a lot of learnings there. So first, can we go to the next page? Okay, so just in a brief introduction, our mission as a company is really the relentless pursuit to delight our consumers and enrich our employees and communities. We, everything we do is through a berry. Basically, everything is empowered by creating that delight in the consumer. Everything we can do and everything we earn is coming through that experience. Everything we, in terms of what we can do for our employees, the advancement of what we'll talk today and really partnering within the communities lies within the experience of a consumer eating a berry and providing a delight that drives repeat purchases and drives value back to us. And then our values of honesty, fairness, and respect is really at the core of what we do. You could say it's the roots that hold us together, and it's the roots that also empower and guide us to our future. So we live by those values and we hold them dear, and they've been a true guide to navigate through tough decisions in times like this as well. Can you go to the next page? This is just our agenda. I'll talk a little bit about Reiter affiliated companies, the evolution of Reiter, our partnership with Driscoll, a little bit about myself, not too much, and then a little bit of our workforce, our company, and the current situation with COVID-19. Can you go to the next page? So the Reiter organization started back in the late 1800s, in the San Francisco Bay Peninsula, and it in the Santa Clara Valley. The Reiter family, which is now in its fourth generation of management too. We have in our own Reiter affiliated companies, two of the Reiter fourth generation working or active, and there's another two family members in Driscoll's also active, and they've been also moving through the ranks and having the whole farming experience and contributing to us as well. As well as we have our chairman of the board and the CEO of Driscoll also are the third generation of Reiter family members. Driscoll, the Reiter family started back in the late 1800s, and continued farming berries, introduced berries in the area, eventually getting to Watsonville, which we can say is the home of and really where berries exploded. But it was much more of a seasonal product. It was basically a summer product. It was strawberries mainly. There was very little of what we know today as the berry patch, which are raspberries, blackberries, and blueberries combined with the strawberry. But the strawberry led the way for many, many years. And they farmed independently as family companies and marketed under their own brand. And it was not until after World War II that 5 families, I believe, got together to market their own fruit, and then and also eventually initiate a breeding company or breeding program inside of Driscoll's to really drive the next generation of berries, really guided through consumer preferences. A lot of the berries at that time were driven also by canning and processing. So it was a combination that really drove breeding more towards the high productivity of the fruit, geared towards another industry, which was more of preservation and yield back to the grower. Driscoll as Driscoll conformed by those 5 families, it took a different approach that really drove the direction towards consumer preferences, and then differentiating themselves through delight, which is through flavor, and really pursuing value in that way. And it was known, Driscoll berries, as they are today, as distinctly higher quality, high flavor oriented. The market, in the late 2000s has now catched up, and a lot of breeding programs have started out moving more towards flavor and consumer preference that drive consumption and delight. A little bit following Driscoll, but also being stronger competitors. The company also, has positioned itself as an industry leader. We'll go through a little bit of where we're farming, but we're farming, in very different geographies. We started in California. The first eventual move was to Southern California, into Oxnard, and into the San Diego area to drive more of a winter supply program. But it was much more of a fall and late spring deal. We were still missing that winter year-round program. And if a lot of the, if you were shopping back in the 90s and 80s, berries were seasonal, which much more of a summer program, and you ate a lot of berries in the summer, but you had no berries in the winter. It really started into the 90s, late 90s, and into the 2000s, where Mexico really kicked off in North America and provided year-round berries. And then the berry industry started to grow and became the predominant leader on a square footage at the supermarket. it drives the most amount of sales in the supermarket. So berries have become an important factor in the annual or the consumer's diet, and we are shooting for also for household penetration and consumer consumption per capita to continue to go up as the next generation has grown up eating berries year round now, and it's not as much as a seasonal product or available in a seasonal way. What we've done through this expansion too is we've taken a lot of focus. We've been, we're a people company. We employ thousands of people, and we have focused in driving advancement and adopting health and wellness programs into what we do and what we provide to our workforce. We were, if not one of the first company to provide primary health clinics to farm workers throughout California. And those farm workers today can come in and have a private clinic developed exclusively for them, where they have very little wait time. It's a free clinic. They're officially part of the clinic as soon as they become an employee of the Reiter affiliated companies. They only pay a $5 fee per visit, which includes the visit and the medicines coming out if they are required. And today, during the pandemic and the COVID, we've waived the fee in order to make sure that everybody's coming in for any costs in order to get treated or seen. So we've been trying to improve the quality of life of the farm worker community and be part of the local communities as well. We've been in this geographic diversity. We've now become a year-round supplier of berries and also serving different markets, in every continent today, through Driscoll. And we started with exports, and then we've gone to become a local producer. Today, we have over 130 partnerships with community growers, independent community growers, throughout our operation in order to deliver the product we deliver. We have also wholly owned operations, but our strongest part of our business as well, or one of the strongest part, is that partnership with community growers, which we look to expand when we go into China. A little bit about myself. As we talked a little bit at the beginning, I'm a product of this cross-border generation in Tijuana. I grew up between both cities and between both countries. The border was a lot seamless when I was very young, and it got a little bit more complex, and the line started to grow as I grew older. But we always managed to be within both cities. Growing up in Tijuana and then going to high school in San Diego at a private school, Catholic school in San Diego, in San Augustine High School. I was the second of 7, and with my oldest brother, Priest and Bosco, and the twins, Bosco that there in San Diego. And I have two other brothers that live in the San Diego, Tijuana area. And one brother, my youngest brother, is in Monterrey, Mexico, and my lone sister, is in Mexico City. But we grew up between both cities. It was fascinating to be in Mexico and in the United States. We thought it was the best place to be. It was very dynamic. And I think you adapt to the different cultures and you maximize the experience. It's been a wonderful experience. And I go back often today. I love sports. I grew up swimming and then playing soccer and eventually golf, and played junior golf there in San Diego, and in high school enjoyed the competitive aspect of it, and in the 90s with great golfers that came out of there that had great success as well as professional golfers. So it's been a great experience. I then went to Monterrey, Mexico to do my bachelor's degree, where I also met my wife. I started working in college at a financial institution, and I thought at the beginning I would be much more in finance. But I graduated with the '94 financial crisis in Mexico. I graduated in December of '94, and that's when we had a big economic collapse in Mexico as well. I like to tell a story that I made more money as a student. I would go back to San Diego, so I measured my money and my earnings in dollars, and I would make more money. I made more as a student than as a graduate when they offered me to stay on at that financial institution because of the devaluation of the peso. So, but eventually I moved on from there and decided to go into farming. And there was a great opportunity at that time to go into a very exciting company that was expanding and led out of Monterrey, Mexico by the Pulsar Group. And it was called Bionova, and it was also forming Semin's vegetable seed company, which became the largest vegetable seed company in the world. I was also exposed to agriculture through my family on my mother's side, and had looked at a career in agriculture. And once I dove into it, I really loved it. It was a little bit of like a second passion after playing golf. The other thing that I would think would have been a great experience would be a professional golf, being able to make a living out of golf and playing what I love. But I ended up in just as good, and farming it's a passionate job that is very exciting in the day-to-day basis, and you deal with all the elements. So I went to Monterrey after starting in Bionova and expanding within that company. We were the largest fresh vegetable exporters out of out of Mexico. There was a large opportunity there to really potentialize farming within NAFTA and becoming a much more consolidated supplier of fresh fruits and vegetables in North America. And then there was an opportunity to bring value added also through seed production and going to market with new products. Eventually, in the early 2000s, I ended up meeting the Reiter family through different, when they were looking to expand their Mexico business, and they had been in Mexico trying to develop the berry production as well started in the early 90s in Jalisco. And they were looking to now to really expand and try. They had success with raspberries, had started to see the light on strawberries, and had a little bit of focus on blackberries. And when I came in, the opportunity was vast to really drive a berry program in the winter that would consolidate a year-round berry offering through the berry patch. And at that time, it was very focused on blackberries, raspberries, and strawberries. Blueberries would come in later on. So I came in 2002 with the idea to do that, and also to expand with community growers. We were largely, had a large number of community growers in the Jalisco, Michoacan area, and we expanded that. We expanded the opportunity with them. And from a small group of probably, I don't remember correctly if it was like 13, 15 growers to having developed over 100 growers down there that really drove also the growth and the impact in those communities. So we built a year-round supply of berries, and started in more in central Mexico, but we also expanded into Baja California, where we have a very strong production today. We also have a very strong organic product offering, and probably the largest in the berry industry, and have incorporated new technologies into growing such a substrate. We also have introduced the first seawater reverse osmosis plant in, we believe, in the Americas, dedicated exclusively to agriculture, and done so in an environmentally friendly way. So we've been expanding with great people, but also with new technologies, and very focused on being a positive contributor to the communities and to our grower base. We have also a very loyal workforce that we've been able to expand and bring across borders. We have an H-2A program that allows us to bring workers from Mexico into the U.S. and then bring back to Mexico to work during the winter. And it's been growing year to year. We'll talk a little bit of the farm worker and how key the farm worker is in everything we do. 90% of our workforce are farm workers, and we owe a lot of our success to them. A lot of the work we do today, is centered around picking this, or harvesting the berry and nurturing the crop to get there, the plant to get there. Also, we have been exposing the farm workers and their families to try to have a career and promote a career in agriculture, but more into the supervision and executive ranges of what they can do. We encourage their kids to stay in school. We tried to be promoting in the communities education and also health and well-being, in trying to improve the quality of life of those communities. Our focus is people and advancing together, and that is what has allowed us to really drive our growth. And we've been growing, in the early 2000s, we were growing at a rate of 15% CAGR year to year, effectively doubling our business every 5 years. We've slowed down to that a little bit, to maybe between 10 to 12%. And this year it's been, we're changing a little bit of our plans, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But it's been a fruitful expansion, as consumption through the life has provided us great opportunity. You as a consumer have really driven that growth and opportunity for us, and we've been trying to contribute back, not just to ourselves, to within the things we do, but to the communities and to our workforce. If you go to the next page, is a little bit of where we grow. Can you go to the next page? This is a little bit of a map of where we're growing, and you can see we farm throughout the coastal California, that provides us berries almost year round now, but complementing from Mexico and also Florida in the winter strawberry program. We also have operations up in the Pacific Northwest, which are more around summer blueberries and blackberries. We are expanding right now into Canada, trying to develop a summer raspberry program. And then we are in different places in Mexico, between the Baja California Peninsula and down into central Mexico in Jalisco, Michoacan, and Puebla. We have operations in Peru, in the area of Trujillo, where we're farming blueberries, and that's a worldwide export program that goes not just to North America, but goes to Asia and to Europe as well. And then, as I mentioned before, we were exporting a lot of fruit into Europe in the early 2000s, and eventually we had developed a local program in trying to supply also locally, developing a local supply that didn't have to have the miles behind the logistics. And we started with operations in Portugal at the beginning, first in Sambujeira, and then into the border with Spain in Tavira. And then in terms of improving our winter supply, we went to Morocco. We have two regions there, in Agadir, which is in the south of south coastal Morocco, or center, but on the coast, south of Moulay. And Moulay is between Rabat and Tangiers. And that's how we provide more of a winter supply into the European market. We also have started expansion into Germany in the last couple of years, and developing partnerships to supply local berries during the summer as well. So that's starting to go and expand. And we're also looking now in 2021 to be in China. We're starting to develop right now the companies or the organization and structure to be able to put our boots in the ground by 2021. So that's our next frontier, and it's really geared towards developing and contributing to Driscoll's presence already there in developing that market, but also introducing our community grower model in the area and grow with the Chinese people in those communities in terms of the supply and the creation of opportunity. Could you go to the next page? The next two pages talks a little bit more about our workforce, and it's a multicultural workforce. If you go throughout every place we farm, the first picture is is in California. The second picture is in Portugal. Our workforce, largely in the U.S. and Mexico, is the same workforce. It's a Latin workforce. Very few people, domestic nationals, have gone into or looked at harvesting as an opportunity for them. I think most economies, as we've seen in Europe, move out of the harvesting. What we need is a guest worker program, and part of the farm worker organization is allowing for our workers in the U.S. to be documented, which is really required. If you look at the pandemic right now, they've become essential workers, where a lot of them in the past and before this were seen very differently in the media and in the political arena of basically sending them back to their home countries because they were here in a non-documented way. So the Farm Labor Modernization Act really provides a pathway to residents and to more of a permanent opportunity for that workforce to be in the United States, but also to move back and forth between Mexico and the U.S. So we're looking for those two things to happen, and we've seen it in Europe. In Europe, it's already there. We have a documented workforce that goes back to their countries. Between Eastern Europe, but not just between Eastern Europe and Western Europe, but also now we have people from India, people from Thailand coming in to work for us in this program. Under this program, we have we have up to 26 nationalities that come into this program and come in for that time period. In Europe. So we see that it works in other countries, and we believe in the US it could be very rewarding to keeping agriculture strong in the United States, food security, and also businesses thriving throughout the US. And when you look at the same workforce throughout, we see the same issues everywhere. And in how to advance the workforce and how to provide opportunity. And we'll talk a little bit about our business model and how to provide a lot of advancement into different opportunities, into supervision, into irrigation, and how we've driven a lot of the community growers and opportunity to partner with us has been also by some of these harvesters becoming growers in the future. And today we have many of them that are under that umbrella of independent growers that either farm for Driscoll today, that have partnered with us as growers in California or Mexico, and community growers that have also gone to have great success and continue to advance personally and provide opportunity for their own workforce. Could you go to the next page? So this is another page, just a little bit of working in Mexico, but that's the group on the right. You can see the diversity. You got people there from India, you got people from Thailand, you got people from Eastern Europe. This is a group working in Portugal that it's a diverse workforce, but gets along really well and have been seen opportunity and provide a lot of strength within our company, and we've become a multicultural company, really understanding those cultures, how to blend those cultures and create a strong internal culture, and also how do we support advancement with them, and they've gone, a lot of them, to other job functions, not just harvesting, that allows them to have opportunity to stay and even earn their citizenship in Europe as well. Could you go to the next page? Reiter affiliated companies, we talked a little bit about delighting the consumer. That all comes around that, being able to create value through flavor. Our business model, we have over 130 partnerships and growers throughout our enterprise. We're looking to expand that dramatically when we go to China. The Chinese land system is something we're learning a lot about, but there's a lot of opportunity to incorporate local community growers and being a stronger part of that community. When we look at our business model, we are a large company. If you look at RAC or Reiter, we are what would be large, but we become local. We become a local community. Our business model is really to drive local business units with their own management, but driven and managed locally by local managers that blend into that community and really provide that bond. So we want to be local. We don't want to be large corporate farmers, where we provide a corporate service and opportunities of value, but we're local in each location. We have thousands of employees, and I think you need to understand that also by every harvesting job, normally in the ag industry, you provide 4 to 7 jobs down the chain. So it's very important in terms of not just what we do in the fields, but what it does in the whole chain of bringing the fruit back to the consumer. We also have focused a lot on professional development as an organization. We've been growing organically, tremendous organic growth, and developing our professional talent, succession, and advancing and bringing people from different cultures into different locations has been proven success to us, and embodied our culture. Farm worker advancement is also something we focus on, and providing them opportunity to move on to different jobs. I know it's very tough because of, not everybody gets it, but we try to see the people that are really driving opportunity to be able to advance. And we have, cases of great success of people that are partnered today that now are farming in California, hundreds of acres, and have built strong businesses that started in this way, and also in Mexico have done the same. Our community impact is always looking to give back. We've centered in health and education. We've developed strong programs as our Sembrando Salud program in combating obesity and diabetes in the farm worker community, in wherever we are present. We also have our health clinics, but we also work very closely with education in terms of driving a stronger education for the children of our farm workers and in the communities, to really drive progress through education and value back to those communities. And then industry contributions. We've become a strong leader also in advocacy for our farm worker, like the Farm Worker Modernization Act. And we've also tried to be, moving the industry in a collaborative way, in sustainable way, to be a long-term contributor to local communities and to the broader audience as well. Can you go to the next page? Got to wrap it up a little bit to have time for questions. Just our response to COVID, again, farm workers are the essential heroes right now. There's a new light shining on them that we're hoping that creates broader exposure and greater willingness to pass the Farm Worker Modernization Act. If people talk about hazard pay, talk about different things, really, if you ask the farm worker, what would they like to see, is that act or their status being regulated in the United States. That's the greatest gift we can give them. And they are our heroes because, we're out trying to make things happen, but they're there every day making the sacrifice, making the effort in bringing that fruit to market. It's amazing what their nobility, their work ethic, and their personalities. They're great people, and hopefully that we are able to respond in the same way back to them. If you go to the next page. I think just from a COVID standpoint, that we've had to change things around. We've been exposed to something we thought we would never be in the middle of. I think all of our crisis management scenarios never embarked a pandemic. It embarked other contamination issues, embarked labor issues, social issues, or different border crossing issues, never a pandemic. So it's dynamic changes where the whole supply chain has had to adapt. We've seen issues with within our supply of being able to deliver product to the consumer. The pricing also driving demand and value has gone, has been erratic and impactful. But we've been able to, as an essential business, and through the strong bonds that we've created with consumers, with retailers, throughout the logistics change, and with farm worker advocates that have helped us drive through this in the best possible way. So we have been impacted, but we believe we're in a really, we've been managing it in the best case scenario. As everything, communication has become essential to communicate with all stakeholders, communicating closely with Driscoll, communicating closely within our own workforce, communicating with management now through a lot of digital experiences is so essential. And what we find is you can't over communicate right now. You have to keep everybody on the loop and kind of where we're going and what's happening. So that's something we've been working on tremendously. We've also seen people rise up. If we had training, we suspended a lot of training that we had to do during the year because of managing the crisis. But what I call is now on-the-job training has been phenomenal in terms of what people are living through and documenting and understanding. And we've seen a lot of people step up and meet those challenges. So it's been a great experience to see that. And we're trying to learn and implement a lot of those changes. The other is a business, we're trying to assuring liquidity. That's one of our biggest, objectives right now. As you would all know, cash has becomes king. So, we can't drive it really from incremental sales. We are driving it much more from reduced investment and reducing expenses that we were looking to do in order to enable growth in 2021. So we've been looking at, being able to partner with our banks better, but assure our liquidity to meet the crisis challenges that we have that assure our long-term success and strength of our company. And we're also assessing areas of opportunity, right? Throughout this crisis of learning work from home, how would we leverage offices in the future? Are offices places where we will congregate more as groups, or will they be less as an individual space for people to go to work and we drive more work from home? We're evolving as an organization, but looking to be aligned to our long-term vision of what we want to be. So those are the things, how we're managing the crisis. I think throughout this crisis, it's been, just the leadership and understanding how we want to respond and within our values, meeting our mission, meeting a 30 to 60-day threshold at the beginning, but always looking at that far long-term objective. Now we're starting to plan more out to look at, the rest of the year into 2021. Also, what are the things that are priorities for us now that we've managed through the first 2 months or 3 months, but we're still, being ready for eventualities of the second wave or things that might come our way, and understanding the learnings that we've had. So I'll leave it at that. And I know we're sure had a lot of exposure, long presentation, but I don't know if there's any questions or things you want to say.
Thank you, Hector. We are appreciative of everything you do, and being from Tijuana myself, I'm super proud, and I cannot think of anybody else but someone from the Lujan family to be head and leader of a organization as global as this. So thank you. And I also want to, I can see our dean here. I'm so glad that you're here, Lisa, but I also want to make shout out to all the participants that I can see. We have 80 participants, which is a very good number for a breakfast series. So thank you so much. And a lot of them are from Tijuana. So thank you for that support as well. We have a couple of questions. First, we have also a shout out from Professor Amy from Lab to Market that Hector is working, and Reiter Reiter affiliates is working with us in the Reiter School. So thank you for your partnership on that, Hector, and your experience with our students. And also, one of the questions we have is, are your employees seasonal? Do you provide housing to the employees? Have you faced limitations with the numbers of visas available?
So we do provide housing for people that we bring in under the guest worker program into the U.S. And then we have housing in Mexico, in Baja California, and in Central Mexico for migrant workers that we go and recruit from their villages too. But then for local workers, they have their own housing. They look to do their own housing. So and just to give you the, what we're doing, like in Baja, is meets the same standards as OSHA standards in California. So we try to be very balanced in terms of our housing offering. In terms of the visas, we did experience the issue with the visas. As an industry with United, we were able to work closely with the Secretary of Agriculture, that then went to work work closely with the State Department in terms of opening up the visa process for returning guest workers that were under the program in 2019 that could come back without an interview in 2020. So that was able to happen. We, if there is a shortfall, they have been open to being able to expand it to other workers. So we had enough inside of our own workforce that came last year in order to fulfill our program for this year. So we believe we're in a good place in the US. Where we had another issue is in Canada, because the program in Canada, the interview process is through the Mexican National Employment Office, which is a federal, it's a part of the federal government, which got cut in their funding and got cut, I believe, in the last month. So the second wave of people that were going into the guest worker program in Canada were not able to go through the interview process. So therefore, their visa was not being able to get done. So we had that issue, but it was in Canada.
Thank you, Hector. Another interesting question. As we consider the possibility of increased interest by grocers, distributors, and supply chain security as a result of COVID-19, do you foresee any material changes in the berry supply chain for the U.S. berry market? As an extreme example might be Jalisco, Baja, or Watsonville, looking more like Almeria, Spain for tomatoes, for example?
Not necessarily. I think that in terms of the food, I think we're very good. And from a food safety standpoint, one, the fruit is not a carrier, so you are in a very good place. And I think one of the really strong pieces of berries too is directly packed into the final presentation for the consumer directly in the field. So there's less touches to the fruit. Really, there's less processes in terms of other vegetables or other products. So that's also really good. That reduces any risk. So I don't see it becoming much more of an enclosed environment necessarily in terms of food safety. It could become from a productivity and technology wise in the future, but I see it more long term where that could happen from increasing efficiencies. From a consumer standpoint, I do see the logistics change. The logistics have changed a little bit of what for example, how the food service industry is adapting to the new situation, and what happens with restaurants and hospitality in the future. And they've been also moving to more home delivery, or even servicing some retailers, and because the retailers had not developed that big of an infrastructure to manage what's going their way incremental into their channel that's been left over by the close of or reduction in wholesale and food service.
Thank you, Hector. I think we have time for one more question, and we will try to address all the other questions, maybe in a follow-up that Brady will send, so stay tuned. One more question. How and to what degree have the localization of your production changing or shortening of distribution networks and improvement of berry quality through genetic selection or otherwise affected the time needed to get produce from farm to store shelf life and quality of your berries?
So we work very close. So Driscoll is also, has developed genetics, and what they look at is also shelf life of the product. It's all done in traditional breeding methods, but we've been able to move and incorporate sequencing of the genome and understanding better the attributes to flavor and shelf life. And there's sometimes where you have to sacrifice a little bit of the shelf life to increase the flavor. So depending what you're trying to do, and we're trying to improve both, and it's more of the eating experience of the consumer. What we've been trying to do is being quicker to deliver to the consumer. So how can we deliver quicker? And we've we've partnered with getting food faster to the consumer through some internet-based companies. We've also looked at how we harvest and genetics that allow us to get that shelf life. Also, depending on if it's going to different areas of the country or longer travel, there are technologies that you cover the pallet, which is going to go on the transportation, to reduce the CO2 emission and really slow down the process of aging of the berries. So those technologies and processes are being followed. We want to pick the berries the riper we can. And the riper we can sometimes affects the shelf life. But when we pick them the riper, it's the best flavor experience. So then our challenge is how fast can we get it to you? And that's where we've been working hard at too, is saying, there are businesses like Fresh Direct in New York that goes into their warehouse and they're going directly to the consumer at their house, whereas retail goes to a distribution center, and then that distribution center sends it to each retailer or retail facility. So we're trying to look at how we can be faster to the consumer. If we can get that product within 7 days, that's our goal. I think our norm is more around 9 days. And then when the distribution channels get plugged up, you could be up to 13 days. So we're trying to be more in that 7 to 9 days.
Well, great. Thank you, Hector. It was great hearing from you. I appreciate all you're doing. I literally eat berries every day, so I'm thankful. Very low carb, by the way, so berries are good in that way. Thank you for all our participants. We hope that we will have the breakfast series in person this fall, but there's probably a good chance that we'll do this virtually as well, and maybe we do both. This is certainly a great way to avoid the crazy parking on UCSD campus. So just thank you for being here, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation. And I'm happy to answer any other questions and send them back through email, and appreciate the opportunity, and also to being exposed to the Reiter School, and working this year on organic inputs. We didn't talk about that, but it's been a great opportunity and great experience. So thank you to you guys too.
Wonderful. Have a great day, everyone.
Too.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.